Today, President Obama delivered a major shot against Donald Trump. Speaking from the White House, the president said Trump is, quote, unfit to be his successor. As you can imagine, people here in the town of Seymour are going to rest a lot easier tonight, knowing that massive manhunt for Mitchell Owens is now over. Earlier this evening, we saw flames shooting out of that home, but now we're told the fire is under control. We are here live on top of the Ferris wheel at the Northern Wisconsin State Fair, and I have to tell you, the view is absolutely breathtaking. You got to say happy birthday to Shane Myers.
Oh,
can you
yes.
believe it? You have a teenager now.
Yes, I do. I can't believe it. Yes.
This is the first presidential campaign visit to Western Wisconsin since the April primary, and you may recall Donald Trump didn't win that race. The thing about these beautiful ice formations is you never know how long they're going to last. But this year, the Park Service says they may last 1 to 2 weeks. Late March would be pushing it. 2 days after the Eau Claire School Board approves wage increases for just about everybody in the district, a committee meets today to figure out how to pay for it. The Marquette University Law School poll was released and had you 10% behind Ted Cruz. Why do you think that is? Is that why you're here today in Wisconsin? As we first told you last night, UW Eau Claire is exploring the option to lease all 119 apartments in the Haymarket Landing building. That building is currently under construction in downtown Eau Claire as part of the Confluence project.
WEAU's Amanda Tyler.
And you were saying earlier that usually you can get hats like this at this event, right? So people like the fashion statement you're making so much they can buy one, right?
Yes, there's a tent just over there.
WEAU political analyst John Frank is with us now to break down these numbers. John, some might say that these results are surprising. Why do you think Wisconsin voters are opting for candidates with less general delegates? Yeah, Bob, this game is definitely not for the faint of heart, let me tell you. I'm here at Buffalo Wild Wings in Eau Claire, where the energy is just electric tonight.
Stories that's trending today. A new report claims to rank the drunkest U.S. cities, and some of the places on that list may be familiar to you.
The report was released this week by 24/7 Wall Street and lists Eau Claire and La Crosse in the top 10 cities for most excessive drinking.
But according to the Eau Claire City County Health Department, these stats are not surprising or new.
WEAU's Danielle Wagner is live on Water Street with more on how the issue is impacting the county. Danielle. 2 days after the Eau Claire School Board approves wage increases for just about everybody in the district, a committee meets today to figure out how to pay for it. In what's being called step 2 of the process, the district's budget development committee met this morning to discuss details of how the new pay plan will be implemented, including a possible referendum. The district says its new compensation plan is focused on recruiting and retaining employees.
If you look at our starting salary compared to other starting salaries of year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4.
The compensation system is set to take effect July 1st. Discussion will continue at the next school board meeting on June 6th. Candidates in the Wisconsin Senate race are weighing in tonight on a new overtime pay requirement from the Obama administration. And perhaps not surprisingly, they're giving opposing viewpoints. Democrat Russ Feingold says the rule is overdue and the current system is unfairly affecting middle and lower income earners. He also says that those who deserve overtime should get it. Republican Senator Ron Johnson, on the other hand, is, quote, working to block this harmful rule, according to his spokeswoman. The new policy will allow more than 4 million U.S. workers to become eligible for overtime pay. It requires employers to pay employees earning up to $47,500 a year, time and a half, for exceeding 40 hours a week, and it's set to take effect on December 1st. Tech Ed students' hard work was on display at Olivestrom High School tonight. The school's Cardinal Manufacturing program held an open house today. The program exposes students to the manufacturing industry and helps sharpen their technical skills. Tonight, the community was invited to see what's new with the shop and learn what students have accomplished during the school year.
It's fun to bring it all together on events like this to come next year and try and do even more.
And on June 4th, Packers wide receiver Jeff Janis will be at Broiler Fest to show his support for the manufacturing program.
Going green is always good, but applying that philosophy to driving on the road is still proving to be a tough sell.
Tonight, WEAU's Jesse Horn takes a look at the appeal and drawbacks of taking the electric slide. Still ahead, a dangerous disease is reaching its peak season for infection. Find out how a local health department is taking a look at the severity of Lyme disease here.
And coming up later on Sports Scene 13, prep baseball from Carson Park as Regis takes on Fall Creek.
But next in news, if you've been wondering just how rich Donald Trump really is, we'll tell you what newly released financial documents reveal when we come back.
You're watching WEAU 13 News with Bob Gallagher, Nikki Junewicz, meteorologist Darren Meyer, and sports with Justice Cleveland. This is WEAU 13 News at 10. Now, your Skywarn 13 weather forecast.
More beautiful weather on the way for tomorrow.
It doesn't work.
You guys
but,
are having
it's
hard
bad luck
time
to open
opening.
it. Isn't it bad luck to open it inside anyway?
Well, we've already done it twice, but don't worry, we won't give you this one. You'll get a new one.
This is mine. What happened to it?
I think I broke it. There it is.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
careful, Darren. There you go.
In case of a downpour.
So that's what you could win if you just
They're pretty
enter
nice.
the word.
Yeah.
Downpour. That's
Just
the
gotta
word.
have a touch, I guess.
All right.
There you have it. A recently filed document shows that presumptive GOP nominee Donald Trump made hundreds of millions of dollars last year. The candidate filed the financial disclosure form with the Federal Election Commission. The document shows Trump made, get this, more than $557 million last year alone, largely from his famous properties. But Trump has come under fire for not releasing his tax returns, which would give a more detailed look at his finances.
557 million.
Well, I know. I can't even wrap my mind around how much money that
He
is.
wins the Powerball every year.
With shootings in Baton Rouge, Minneapolis, and Dallas, to name a few, it's a tense time in America when it comes to civilian interactions with law enforcement. So what's the best way to communicate with police to avoid conflict? And how should you handle the situation if you feel you're being treated unfairly? What are your rights? I spoke to the experts to find out. It's our Assignment 13 report tonight. It's the most common interaction Americans have with police, but now we're seeing more traffic stops turn violent. Not just nationally, but right here in the Chippewa Valley. People are resisting arrest and arguing with police officers.
More than likely, there's reasons behind it. I have a warrant. I don't have a driver's license. I'm on probation. I don't want you to know my name, so I'm going to lie to you about what my name is. Generally, all those don't work very well.
It seemed years ago that there was a lot more respect, and not just for law enforcement, but for adults, members of the community, just people in charge in general.
According to the Bureau of Justice, 42% of contacts between officers and citizens happen when drivers get pulled over. And the #1 reason for that is speeding. So what's the best way to act to make sure these everyday situations don't get taken too far? I went through a mock traffic stop with Eau Claire police officer Clay Wanta. He says to stay in your car.
All right, is this your current address in Eau Claire?
Yes. Unless you're asked to step out.
What's your driving record like?
Don't reach around under your seat or behind you. And always make sure the officer can see your hands.
For us, it's important that you're not moving around and we can see what you're doing, because we have no idea what the traffic stop may entail or what we might come across during the stop.
And if you have a gun,
I like to know. I don't make a big deal out of it. I'm not going to have you grab the gun and show it to me. If you tell me it's under the passenger seat, I'm going to say just don't reach for it and leave the gun where it's at.
okay.
This is a $10 citation.
And if you don't like what's happening or disagree with the citation, don't argue. And whatever you do, don't get physical.
I just pulled you over because you're going a little fast on Menominee Street.
There is no attorney on this earth that's going to tell you it's okay to fight with the police or to use force against the police or to try to run from the police. If you're going to be taken into custody, go along with the program. Listen to the officer's commands.
And local lawyers we spoke with agree.
You definitely don't want to accelerate the situation with an attitude. You don't have to argue your case alongside the road.
If the officer asks you to jump, ask how high and minimize the risk to yourself or to the officer's life. That's really important.
Ann Hertel says a driver behind the wheel is not legally required to answer any questions, allow an officer to search their car, or do any action like get out of the car or perform a field sobriety test. However, Bob, failure to do so can be perceived as an obstruction. For law enforcement agencies, this is the worst case scenario.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
No officer ever wants to be involved in a situation where he or she has to use deadly force or be in a position where they may need to take someone else's life.
But the end of traumatic, tragic events like an officer-involved shooting is really only the beginning. Chippewa County District Attorney Stephen Gibbs.
When someone dies, obviously it has to be looked into. There has to be an investigation as to whether there's any foul play.
That's where Assembly Bill 409 comes in. It was signed by Governor Scott Walker last spring, making Wisconsin the first state to have a law requiring all officer-involved deaths be investigated by an outside agency. It was pushed through primarily by the families of those who have been killed by officers, like Jolyn Ashmore of Neelsville.
Everybody that met him loved him.
Her son was killed by a police officer who was called to a domestic dispute at their home in December of 2013. That officer was later exonerated.
There was a young life taken that did not need to be taken. There were other options, other ways it could have been dealt with.
Jolyn hopes this law will help others in her situation.
It's very personal to me, and I think it's a wonderful thing. I think every state should have that.
But Jolyn's feelings towards this legislation are shared by many others. Eau Claire Deputy Chief Matt Rokas is one of them.
We embrace the passage of this law. We think it's a good thing. One of the main benefits of it is it allows the opportunity for a transparent and impartial investigation to occur.
You may remember in October of 2012, this was the scene on Brackett Avenue in Eau Claire. Flashing lights, sirens, a chase that ended in the Culver's parking lot after a man police say was responsible for stealing 60 guns refused to drop the pistol he was carrying and was killed. The officer who pulled the trigger, Jason Rupert, was later cleared.
The Wisconsin Department of Justice Division of Criminal Investigation was the lead agency into the officer's use of deadly force for that incident. An impartial agency conducted the investigation. There was an impartial person or agency reviewed the final findings and made the determination. So there was much more credibility in that decision.
More recently, in November of 2014, outside investigators were used in a case in Chippewa Falls. While on a warrant, a suspect attacked Deputy William Gray with a knife. That suspect, Sharinder Garcha, was also shot and killed. And yet again, the state was called in. But this was not anything new for Chippewa County.
For as long as I can remember, Chippewa County has always referred the investigation into officer-involved shootings to outside agencies. It's setting forth that I'm not checking you, you're not checking me, we're letting a third outside individual agency decide as to the facts and the investigation of the matter.
Careful, guys, he's got a gun. Be careful, he's got a gun.
In this dash cam video, you can see Russ County Sheriff Jeff Wallace. He responded to a bank robbery back in 2009 where one guy took off armed. Several rounds were fired when deputies finally caught up with him.
In my mind, we did what we did and did what we had to do to keep the people here safe, and I can live with it, but I'll never forget it.
Wallace tells me he was relieved to have Barron County review his actions that day.
You know, there's always going to be questions when your own department investigates something of that nature. You know, somebody's always going to question whether you're covering up something or whether you're not. But I think it does mean more. I think it takes a lot of pressure off of your department if another department does the investigation.
Another reason investigators, victims, and the officers involved believe in this historic law.
Gorgeous. It's breathtaking.
We didn't know how long, if it would ever come again.
The ice caves at the Apostle Islands National Lakeshore are like a rare flower that only blooms on special occasions.
This is one of those things where, you go to parks across the country and you can't put words to it. It's just so cool and so amazing.
The bitter cold winter last year allowed the caves to open for the first time in 5 years. 140,000 people came to see them in that 2-month window. But the strong wind this year made the season uncertain.
This is the third time ice has formed out on the lake right here. So the first time we started ramping up for it, it all blew out. Second time, same thing, it blew out, and then this time it stuck.
But they say better late than never. And last week, with 13 solid inches of clear ice, park rangers decided it was time.
The criteria we have for opening the ice is the thickness of the ice, how long it's been there, and then also whether or not it's locked in between geographic points on the mainland.
The trip to get there isn't easy. It's about 2 miles long, very cold and very slick.
It's pretty treacherous, but you just got to pay attention or you're going to fall down.
It's just one of those things where you pay the price to get the reward.
Got my long-legged underwears on, and I got my Carhartts, and I got my gaiters on, and I'm wearing my Ice Trekker diamond grips and a vest and my hat.
But those who made the trek say it was more than worth it.
For a family of 5, we paid $10 to get in here, and we've been here for hours. Where else can you spend $10 and have a whole day's worth of fun?
Cliff Teosh came from Chippewa Falls. After seeing so many pictures, he wanted to take some of his very own.
I think it's the combination of the ice formations and the geological structure of the cliffs themselves, and the blending of the brown and the white, and the blue sky. I mean, it's an absolutely beautiful day for photography.
Others came to see it with their own eyes.
Pictures, it doesn't no justice to it. You can't get the depth and just the feel of it, and the way you can see it, especially when the sun's coming around the corner now. It's just amazing.
The sandstone here was formed millions of years ago. Thousands of years later, glaciers came through and sculpted the cliffs. When winter arrives, the crashing waves of Lake Superior freeze, making for a truly phenomenal event.
The thing about these beautiful ice formations is you never know how long they're going to last. But this year, the Park Service says they may last 1 to 2 weeks. Late March would be pushing it.
What happens is, the ice starts deteriorating. So, you get some warm weather, it starts deteriorating, and it doesn't really get that back then.
A special piece of Wisconsin for a limited time.